do like some tips and tricks and stuff based on some things that I've learned in the forums, the chats. If you people on Twitch or watching on Twitch, if you have questions as well, try and throw them through. Obviously, we can't answer everything, but we'll try and cover as many things as we can. And don't worry, we'll be doing more Twitches with more lessons and trying to. We'll
be doing a stream every week that the beta is running, and probably one after, so that we can show lots of stuff and keep telling you how to do cool stuff in Dreams.
Absolutely. Okay, so I am going to. Lots of people ask about the character and how to do characters and lots of things to do with characters, very specific things about characters, and because we don't really have a character tutorial, so I wanted to cover a few basic things with the character. The tips and stuff I'm going to show you at the moment, some of them are going to be quite sort of small and full of little details, so it's not going to be like really exciting, so to speak, but if you're in the beta, you'll want to come back and watch these and how I did them. I'll try and remember and tell you what controls and everything I'm pressing, so hopefully this will answer a lot of questions that you've all had out there. I will be using a mix of the DualShock and the moves. I'll tell you which ones I'm using and why I've swapped them at certain times, because I like using both because it's part of my role. But without further ado, let's talk about characters. So I then went into make new character, and this character, because it's blue, is our more advanced puppet. We call them puppets.
What's the difference between the advanced and the default?
That's a very good question. Let's get them both out. So this one has a bunch of things already inside to do animations for jumps, and it follows things around. It's got a load of clever things that we've designed into it. So it's a bit more complex if you wanted to look inside and figure out how its logic works. If I opened up its logic here, there's like a few more things to hang around with. But if you're just getting started, the best one to start on is this one. This is called the Deluxe Puppet, which you can find up here. You see you've got the Blank Puppet Deluxe and the Blank Puppet Basic. But the Deluxe one is a good one if you just want to sculpt stuff on top, because it has a load of cool, useful things out of the box. But if you want to make a completely custom with all kinds of unique runs and jumps and stuff, then the blank one, not the blank one, the basic one is the one you want to look at.
Okay.
So that's the difference between the two of them. So just because this one says basic, it doesn't mean that's the one you should start with when you're starting. It's probably best to start with the Deluxe one.
Okay.
So yeah. One question that I strangely came up 3 times independently was, how do I put a hat on a puppet?
Hats are cool.
And everyone found it was broken in different ways. Someone's like, oh, it fell off, or it kind of bobbed around, or it did strange stuff. So I'm going to show you how to put a hat on a puppet. So the first thing we want to do is get a hat or make a hat. So let's make a hat.
Let's make a hat.
Let's make a hat. So I'm going to use the moves to make a hat. So as I do this, we might be transitioning into other lessons, because I'm going to use the moves now, so I can show you some stuff to do with moves. Okay, so DualShock down. In fact, I'll put the DualShock on charge while we're waiting. On charge. There we go. Okay, so got the moves because I prefer the moves personally for sculpting things. So to sculpt, we're going to go into our modes.
Everybody on the stream is asking you to make Obama. John is not really an artist. No. He's more of a designer, so we're going to spare him trying to do like detailed face things on the stream. But that said, when you were in the beta, you are welcome to do it.
It would probably become offensive if I started to try and do something, a likeness of someone. They would start getting offended real quick.
Don't make a likeness of me. I plan on being offended.
I'm already offended.
Okay, so when you go into...
You make a good shark, though.
I can make a good spider shark.
Spider shark is pretty great. Spider shark is probably the best thing that you've done.
When you come into sculpt mode, you often end up with a shape on the end. And for a hat, I've chosen cylinder, because we're going to make like a nice round hat. And with the move controllers, you can tap the 2 ends together. I don't know if you can see me do this, but you tap the 2 glowing ends together.
Someone's like shark hat, which honestly I can't disagree with.
You can non-uniform scale your primitive here. So I can squish it down to make it nice and thin like this. And this is going to be the bottom, because I'm going to make like a top hat, I think. So I'm going to stick one there. And then I want the big tool bit in the middle. And there's a couple of ways I can do this. One, I could non-uniform scale it and make it bigger like that, which is a pretty easy way of doing it. But another way, if you've made it too short to begin with, say you've done something like this, and you're like, oh man, I want that to be taller, you can use, we've got all these different tools, and one of them is called a stretch tool. And you can click on that, and you can stretch up and down to make it longer or shorter. which is really nice for making a nice big hat. And while you're in this mode, you can, not the stretch mode, while you're in sculpt mode, if you don't have a shape in your hand, you can move things around like that. So let's move that so it's in the center. And then I want to like round the top off here. And the way I like to do that is make sure you're in stamp mode, because it won't work if you're in sphere mode. Choose a shape. I tend to use square in this case. And with the moves, if you tap the bottom of the right move into the top of the left move, it goes into subtract. If you can't remember to do that, or you don't have the moves, you can go here and you can click between positive and negative. So now I've got the subtract, and it would usually just cut, a big chunk out of it. But because I'm in stamp, I can use soft blend, so I can just turn up soft blend a little bit.
People are asking, can you do all this stuff with DualShock?
Yes, you absolutely can. Yeah, I will. What I'll do,
I just use the DualShock.
What I'll do is, as we go, I'll swap between DualShock and moves to show different things at different times. But we already have tutorials, I believe, for DualShock.
Yeah.
So lots of you out there will know how to use the DualShock more than you will know how to use the move. So I will do most of the sculpting using moves for the people who haven't used, or there isn't any tutorials for it.
Cool.
And then I will use DualShock at times just to show that you can do it with both.
Okay.
I like to think of Mark, our creative director, has used DualShocks exclusively while working on games as well, to make sure everything is possible.
Yeah, people have a different preferences.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways we can paint this as well, because we've got this white hat now. So one of the ways, a really simple way, is you can tweak it by pressing, in this particular case, L1 or Shift we call it, because it's triangle on the moves, and square, and you automatically open up the tweak menu for the sculpture. And up here we have a tint amount. Oh, and this is really important, and Lucy, who works here, she's amazing. She's gone around, and if you hover over pretty much anything in the game for a couple of seconds, it comes up with information how to use that. I can't stress how valuable that is, because if you can't remember or you don't know how something works, just hover over it, and it gives you some nice suggestions on how to use it as well. So it's really good for learning. So make sure that you hover over, like literally if you hover over anything, if you hover over all of the buttons, it tells you what they are and comes up with more information. So that's really, really cool.
People are asking about the difference between the DualShocks and the Move controllers, and I guess the big one is that moving in 3D space, that the Move controllers allow you to do is really simple. It's really nice for sculpting. I think if you are really interested in the sculpting side of Dreams and you really want to make like awesome stuff like that, it's really cool to learn the Move controllers for. If you're less interested, if you're more interested in making gameplay and other stuff, obviously the DualShock's great for that, and audio and everything else.
Definitely, yeah. So for me, the reason I like using the moves, just like Abby says, is you can move in Z, so in and out of the screen, and I can rotate and move simultaneously, which is a bit harder to do with the DualShock. So it's not as brilliant for sculpting. It can still do everything the moves can do, but what the moves can do is do them at the same time. So all it's doing is like doubling up on functions at the same time. So that's why I like using it, because I can go faster, basically. Okay, so I've made my hat red here by turning up its tint to maximum and then choosing a colour. That's one way of doing it. But a couple of people I've noticed on the forum have then got confused, because they've done this, which is great, and then they've gone back into their model and they've gone to paint mode over here, and they've chosen, say, black, I don't know, and they're trying to paint black on, and they're like, oh, it doesn't do anything. That's because this model has been fully tinted one colour. So what I'm going to do is just stamp a black square there. It's invisible now. Okay. If I go back out and I untint it, you can see where the black square was. So if you want multiple colours on your sculpt, use the paint tool in sculpt mode. If you just want it to be one colour, it's often easier to just come here and change that one. So a lot of people I know have been getting confused by that. So multicolour, sculpt, single colour, tweak menu.
Someone was asking if things that they say privately will transfer over to the full game. I'm pretty sure things that you haven't published, but we'll have to check on that. That is a question for the server people. That's one I do not know. So I'm just going to add. That's fine. We will send out like warnings about that kind of stuff if it's not going to. So we'll make sure that everybody knows.
I don't know why I went for this color scheme. I have no idea. But
it's nice.
Kind of inspired me.
Striped hat.
Okay, we have our hat. It's not hollow, so I'm going to hollow it out for perfectionism. So let's use a nice circle shape, and we can just cut out a nice shape there.
And if you're using the moves, yes, you do need the PlayStation camera, but otherwise, no, if you're using the DualShock. But it is great for importing your voice and making instruments.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we have our hat, and unfortunately you can't just put it there and hope it works, because what happened is when we go into play mode, you can see the character just isn't attached to it at the moment. And what I found or seen on the forums is what some people have managed to do is go inside the puppet, and you do that by, when you're holding something, you hold Shift, L1 on the DS4 and triangle on the moves on your left hand, and X, and you scope in once. What I'm actually going to do is, to make that more obvious for everyone, is on the preferences here, there's visual feedback, and I'm just going to put it up to maximum basically, and that allows you to see when you've scoped into something, because outside of the scope everything becomes grey, so you can see I've scoped in, and if I scope into the head, you can see the head's the only thing that's blue. This will help you understand. I turn it off personally because it's easier for me as an artist to see how things match together, and I'm used to the scoping system, but if you're new to this, it's probably best.
Oh, now you're an artist, but not when you have to sculpt people's faces.
Yeah. I'm different kind of artist, you see, different kind of artist. So yeah, we've stuck it inside the puppet, but if we play, what ends up happening is it kind of looks like something like this, which isn't quite what people had in mind when they had a hat for their character. So what you need to do is stick it on the character's head. So all you need to do is the same step we did to get the hat into the puppet by grabbing it and moving into the puppet, but we've just got to do that again, but on the head. So now you can see, because of the colour, that these two are linked together nicely. Put the hat on. Now when we're in play mode, we can run around and we've got ourselves a hat. I'm just waiting for the moves to go to sleep. There we go. We've got a lovely, lovely hat.
He wears it well, John.
It does. Other people have also asked can you bring in things that they made earlier, and stick it on the puppet? And it's almost exactly the same as I did with the hat. I mean, essentially it is you can either search from where you are now. So, oh look, chainmail, physical. That would be nice to use, but I imagine because it's physical, it's going to flop all over the place. So I'm just going to, what can we find that can, like a tree. There's bound to be a tree, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of trees now.
A lot of trees. Trees is like the thing that is like the go-to to make, isn't it? So, okay, so we've got this cool tree, and we want it to be inside the character. Because when I searched for it, I was outside of the character. I've got to now go inside the character.
Yeah.
And then say inside the body to stick it to the body. But if you already happen to be inside the character when you did the search, it appears at the level you're in. So when you're bringing stuff in from search, just be aware of what scope level you're in, and then you'll know, because that's where lots of things go wrong, because people have just scoped in not far enough in or too far out. So now I'm just going to stick the tree on. Let's stick it on the character's
hat.
head.
Yeah,
that makes
obviously
sense.
As does everything we've seen in Dream so far.
There we go.
Cool, great. We've made a tree hat man.
See how that works.
Tree hat.
There we go. Okay, so we've got a nice tree hat. I'm quite pleased with that, actually.
Yeah, and the motion on the tree as well.
The motion on tree, yeah. Person made those leaves physical, which is really, really great.
Nice.
Another problem that I've noticed people have come across quite a lot is they've done all the steps that I've just done and think, why isn't it working? Because they've, at some point, set their object that they've brought in to be movable. So over here, there's all these different tweaks. You can say whether it's collidable or not. But they've set it to be movable, thinking they need it to be movable to move around with the character. What movable does, to explain to everyone, is it really means not glued to the group. Movable just means it's like, so clicking it on or off means glued to the group. In this case, the group is the head. So ticking it off means I'm no longer glued to the head. And you end up in a situation where the hat falls off like that, you see, which happens quite a bit. So if you're wondering why your hat or your objects are falling off your character, check whether they've been set to movable, which is in the tweak menu of the sculpture, on the one that looks like the Newton's cradle. And then we've also turned that off, and then you'll be golden.
Awesome.
Okay. What some people don't realize as well is you can reproportion your puppets. So when we're inside the puppet, if you go to our tools,
Yep.
and there's a stretch, you can get that, and you can grab any part of the character and you can stretch it around
Yep.
to reproportion the character, which is super handy for making some super odd or cool characters. And then you can repose them as well. Let's do that.
Okay.
I have no idea what monstrosity I made.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how this is going to go.
I think it's going to be so awesome when I finish.
It's like a weird bunny-legged... I don't... nightmares.
Hide the legs. Let's move those legs. Oh,
Ugh.
That looked painful.
that did look painful. There we go. I realised it's because I'm in IK mode, that's why. I will talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Okay. And it will make sense. Okay. Cool. So we've made our character now, which is some kind of strange...
Weird, strange...
It's quite exciting though, but it's just to show that you can repose your legs and proportions to get an interesting character.
Yeah.
Now, if you reproportion them too oddly, they may not move how you expect, so you may have to fiddle around.
Yeah, there have been some questions about how do I, prevent that from disrupting the walk animations and stuff like that.
With the moves and the DS4, there's two ways you can move the puppet. One is called IK, inverse kinematics, which means as I grab the hand, the arm kind of works out where it's got to bend to move the hand to where you're trying to position it, which is really nice. But we also have something called FK, which is forward kinematics. With the moves, you've got to tap the controllers as if you're going between positive and negative. And what that means is, as I twist it, it just twists the joint I'm on and nothing else. And this is really good for doing certain keyframe stuff, because sometimes when you grab the hand, the arm doesn't actually bend to where you want it. It's trying to figure out where it is. So you may want to get more accurate. So FK is really good. And in the case of the DualShock, just so everyone knows, is if you grab it with R2, which is how you grab most things, that's IK. And if you grab it with L2, which is like rotation, that's FK. So it's really good for when you're doing keyframes. I personally like using FK because I kind of like move everything like this and then keyframe it where I want, which is really, really nice. Cool looking character. Okay.
Yeah.
You can also sculpt directly onto your character as well. When you scope into anything, if you eventually sculpt down to something that is a sculpt, you will go straight into sculpt mode. So if I go to the head and one more time go inside, I'm now in sculpt mode of the head. Now with a head, it's really good if you turn on the mirror mode, because you can use that to make symmetrical heads, as most heads are symmetrical.
Well, slightly off. I mean, like if we're going to get scientific.
Yeah, exactly. Symmetrical-ish. So let's turn on mirror. And you can see our little mirror planes come up there. If you don't want to know where the mirror is, you can actually come here and you can make that mirror mode, that plane, invisible. And we can use that to start sculpting into the head.
What's your plan for this?
I've, no,
that's looking. Yeah, that's looking good.
So many people are asking you.
Anime eyes, John, please.
Let's do some anime eyes. Yeah. So I've just used a bit of soft blend. And
steampunky.
Yeah, steampunky.
It does not fit with what John is making at all, so it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
There we go. And you can just use lots of shapes. I'm using soft blend here to blend everything together. And I've just used a couple of simple shapes to make like some kind of gas mask, I guess.
Squid face with anime eyes. Give him tentacles and then anime eyes. Tentacles.
Okay.
Oh my. Everyone's asking what's happening.
I love live creating with John so much.
So we're going to do some anime eyes.
Yeah. We were at PAX West this year, and we would just name two animals and make John mash them up in like 10 minutes into a new super animal. It's probably the most fun I've had in dreams, I'll be honest.
And I only had 10 minutes every time.
It was so much fun.
And it always ended up with anime eyes, so that was really handy. So I'm going to turn off my mirror, because I don't need a mirror for a single eye. So I'm just going to make one eye. Nice white eye. And I'm going to use painting to do all the details on it. So if we put it into paint mode, and then we choose a nice color, maybe like purpley pink color, or dark one to begin with. Okay. You can also soft blend the paint as well. So the same as soft blending the sculpts, you can soft blend the paint, so you can get some nice sort of fades like that. And then unsoft blend it.
There it is.
And then I always like adding the little, the little white bits to look like it's shiny.
Oh. I've missed that eye.
I know.
In a while.
Thanks, John.
So cute. And then of course you can make it shiny. If you tweak a sculpture, a bit like when we were changing the tint earlier, you can change things like how shiny it is. So let's make it nice and shiny because eyes are shiny. Okay, so because I was building sculpting already in the group of the head,
yes,
it's stuck to the head, so we don't have to actually bring it in or out. It's already in the right place. And all we have to do is
you've made this beautiful nightmare so cute.
And then we can just clone it across like that, and we have a nice anime eye character head.
What is the shortcut for soft blend?
The shortcut with the moves. So I'll show you. So
I think we all have this problem where we're used to doing things, and you're like, "What did I hit?"
Just say the words out loud. So when we're in sculpt mode, it only works with stamp and spray paint and looseness as well, but not with smear. So when you've got a thing out to smear, what you do is on the left, your offhand move controller, you hold square and you twist your controller left and right like this. You can also change it to hard blend mode by pressing triangle on the right controller. Now what's really awesome is you'll notice here that whatever mode you're in, you can see it actually tells me what buttons to press. So you can see over on the left there, it's got looseness and blend. So I can hold square, and now it's saying twist to do the hard blend. Over on the right, it says press triangle to switch blend mode. So I can do all the... It's covered by the video. Oh, okay, so who's... Oh, the video. Oh, that video. Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying. Costa technical support here is helping. So you can see it actually comes up with all the tips that you need to do to soft blend or hard blend things here. So when you're in sculpt mode, just make sure you refer to those. If you haven't got them for some reason, what you have to do is go into your preferences, and it says here how to put on prompts and things like this, so you can find out where everything is.
Cool.
Show more info, show prompts. Do not turn show more info off. It's really good. In fact, Lucy's here.
Lucy, who wrote all the tips, is staring at us, making sure we don't tell anybody. Hi, Lucy. Keep the tips on. Aww. Lucy will hurt us.
Someone asked on the forums as well how you make hair. And this is a good example where we can make hair or tentacle things. So let's do a bit of both.
Shout out to anyone joining the stream now.
So what I'm going to do is, while I'm scoped in far enough into the head, because I want the tentacles to be attached to the head, and you can see because, again, the head is all nice and colourful and the background is not, I'm going to go into paint mode. And I'm going to paint myself some kind of tentacle. Let's see, what colour do we think it should be? Pink? Pink, yeah.
Why not? This is a day of bold choices.
And I'm just going to, in fact, over here, there's different types of paint modes you have. Stamp just stamps down a single splat. This one, the less you press the trigger, the more transparent it goes. So you can have it really thick, or you can have it really faint, which is really good. But for tentacles, I want this one, which is the harder or softer you press it, the thinner or thicker the strokes are. So that's really good for making tentacles, because I can kind of go like thick and then thin like that. It's great. And then I want one on the other side, I guess, as well. Oh no, in fact, we'll use one and we're just going to clone it. So what would happen now when we went into play mode is it would just be sort of stuck to our character's head like that. It doesn't particularly look tentacly at the moment. So all the strokes have lots of like tweak menus and stuff to use with them. So what you want to do is go into it and tweak it, go to the physical page and make it physical. And what this will do is make it nice and loose and wibbly and wobbly. Turn up the floppiness a lot. Maybe turn a bit of gravity on so it's falling down. There we go, looks good. Maybe too much.
It's fallen a little bit too far.
And you can even put on some wind. Oh, it is falling a long way, isn't it? I think that's because I drew some strokes earlier inside of it.
Yeah.
So now it thinks where it's attached is not where it really is, which is a problem you may have. So whenever you get problems like this, I try and explain it, is because I made those other strokes earlier, it's not sure where the beginning of that stroke is anymore. So these are problems you may encounter. If stuff like this happens, you can sometimes fix it, but it's so easy to make things that you can just make it again. In fact, I just use the DS4 to do this. So let's get the paint mode out. And I'll draw the same one again. Oops, I've got to get it on the right tool. There we go. Fin. There we go. Okay. And now we just want to put that so it's at the right place in the head. Scale it down.
Truly an artist, John.
Thank you. It looks kind of more like a mustache.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, gonna go with that now. Yeah. I've already.
He's like it.
This is the great thing about Dreams is that the making one thing that was one thing into something else is like my absolute favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and add a little bit of wind.
Now you've got the wind. Yep.
Yeah. Windy mustache, and then I can clone it and flip it around. And it's because I had time running that the character head, it tries to look at the imp like in a really cute way, but sometimes you're like, imagine trying to put makeup on someone and they're trying to look at you, so you can turn that off just by pausing time, and then they won't look at you. So now I've got a nice mustache. And this is the same technique I would use for making hair as well, but I would just put more of them. So now I've got a nice wobbly mustache.
It's beautiful, John. Just beautiful.
If you're making that into hair, in fact, what I'm going to do is actually make this into hair, just to show you how easy it is using the exact same stroke. I'm going to put it around the back here like this. And strokes have so many cool tweaks on them. Everyone should really play around with all these options.
Are you going to use impasto, or what do you?
I am. I'm going to use a few different things. So I'm going to turn the wind strength down because we want this kind of like nice flappy hair like this. Let's turn the gravity up a little bit. But what I'm going to do is the clone, and the clone makes lots of hair. I'm going to put all the hair into roughly the same spot, tweaking these options like this, and you can even tweak the sort of size scale variance between them, and just playing with these options do all kinds of different things. It's like, copy in different directions basically.
Yeah, really good for using for making special effects and explosions and fireworks.
So good
stuff I like to make.
So let's do that, and we can just
weather.
Really good for weather. Really good. I know I've shown weather a few times, but I might show it one more time later because it's so good for all those people out there who haven't seen our older streams. And let's just put that into a nice angle. There we go. So now I've got some amazing flowing hair. It's all physical. So that's one cool way you can do hair. I know this character's going a bit off the rails,
beautiful,
but it's really cool
John,
to sort of show all the
beautiful.
Things.
Don't let anyone tell you you're not an artist, John.
I won't.
You are.
I won't. So I think you out there
someone's asking if you'll post this in the beta. I mean, you can do it right now with one button press.
Yeah.
You just can.
Have at it.
Let's do it.
Let's see what you can do with this.
I want to see where this ends up. So I'm going to save it quickly. And what we're going to call it?
Let the stream name it.
Yeah.
Name. Give us
the first name that comes up gets it. As long as it's not rude.
Yes. And then as long as it's not Obama.
Yeah. It'll just confuse people.
Ooh. What are we going for?
I don't know. Squid guy. Bulbo.
I like Bulbo.
How are we spelling Bulbo?
B-U-L.
Squid stash. Oh my god, it's going too fast. I can't read this fast.
I feel it needs a surname.
Bulbo Squid Tash, because I heard Squid Tash.
Yeah.
So.
Bulbo Squid Tash?
Yeah,
that's great. Great. Squid Stash? Or Squid Tash?
Squid Tash.
Bulbo Squid Stash.
Because it's got a Tash, right? So
sure, that's mostly not spelled, but
Ramses.
That's good. Okay, and then I'm going to save a version online for all you lovely people out